All right. Welcome. Tonight is the last night of Hanukkah, and we are continuing with Torah 21, Torah Chafalov. As we said last week, um, this Torah is based on the fourth chapter of the five of Likutey Moharan. I'm sorry, of Safra Netziyusa. Safra Netziyusa is the sefer that is attributed to Yaakov Avinu. Avram Avinu has written a sefer, which is called Sefer Yetzirah. And Sefer Yetzirah is based on the manipulation, the explanation, the understanding of how letters and words work in the creation. Basically, we have a creator which is infinite, with infinite power and with infinite ability. It is therefore obvious that anything that the infinite does is infinite. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu would create an ant, then an ant would be infinite, would be of infinite size, with infinite number of parts, infinite number of attributes, infinite colors, and so on and so on. Truth be told, that within the small ant, infinity still exists. Meaning, we are not able to see the infinite complexity of the ant because our means of discerning, of measuring, of understanding, of dissecting, of getting down to detail are limited. So we are able to understand and to see and to measure and to be impressed, commensurate to our ability to discern and to investigate, whether it is chemically, whether it is via a microscope, whether the spectrograph or whatever, whatever tools we have, our ability to see and to discern and to understand the complexity of an ant is limited by our ability to investigate and to research and to sense and to observe and to understand. But nevertheless, that said, the ant is still small. That much is obvious, especially vis-a-vis the rest of the world. Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted the ant to be not only a specific size, but he wanted it to be, in relation to other beings, a specific size, specific attributes, and so forth and so on. So the question is, how did an infinite creator create with his infinite power and with infinite ability, whose every single action is infinite, something which is not only definite, but relational, that compared to other creations, other creatures, this one is small, this one is big, and so forth and so on. The answer is he used letters. He used basically two tools. One tool is, there are 10 of them. This is the 10 Sefirot. The 10 Sefirot are mode of divine expressions. That's the 10 expressions of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the mode of giving and the mode of compassion is represented with the tool of chesed, and the mode of holding back and so forth is represented in gvura, and so forth and so on, and mitigating the combination of chesed and gvura, the estimate of tiferes, and so forth and so on. We have 10 of those tools, and all the way from Keser to the Malchus, or the Chochmah to the Malchus. And these are the 10 Sefirot. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu used frames. These are our step-down mechanisms with which HaKadosh Baruch Hu has fed his infinite ability and power. And those frames, those step-down mechanisms, according to their combinations, limited and focused and constricted the infinite power and resulted with specific results according to the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted it. These are the 22 letters of the alphabet. So what we have here, we have 22 letters of the alphabet, and we have the 10 Sefirot, the initial Sefirot. Together we have 32, 22 of the letters and 10 of the Sefirot. So now we know that we understand the first line of Sefer Yetzirah. That's the Sefer that is attributed to Avram Avinu, who was a master scientist and astrologist, who, basically have lived in and roamed around the secrets of creation like they were his own. And he says, B'shloshim v'shtayim netivos chachma, that the world was created in 32 paths of wisdom. The 32 are the 22 letters and the 10 Sefirot. Now, the 22 letters interconnect with one another with 234 gates. You can see it in the parish of Rabbi Kaplan, Zichrono Livrocha, that when you put all the 22 letters in a circle and you connect every single letter to every single letter, it comes out. There used to be a toy in America where you had I forgot what it says. It's not Exasketch. Exasketch is this. It looked like a little TV that you manipulated two buttons. It made lines, whatever it is. But this one was a circle with gears, and you put a pen in them, and you like went around, and they created these kind of flowers and whatever it is, and it's like a. And if you remember that, I forgot what it was called, but that particular the when you connect all the 22 letters to each other, the Aleph to Beis, the Aleph to Gimel, the Aleph to Dalet, the Aleph to Hey, the Aleph to Vav, the Aleph to Zayin, the Aleph to Ches, the Aleph to Tes, and so forth and so on. Then you take the Beis, the Aleph, the Beis, the Gimel, the Hey, the Dalet, and so forth. You keep on going. You're getting this kind of a drawing, like this game, of wheels, of gears used to paint, where all the possible interconnections of the 22 letters with one another comes out to 234 gates, 234 combinations. So there you have, and then when you have every single letter is basically made of all 234 combinations. And when you connect one letter to the next and you create a word, what you're doing, you are constricting infinity. When you're saying, let's say the word Abba, which is the word daddy, okay? You might think that the only thing you're doing is you're saying daddy, which you are, in fact. But what you're doing is you are expressing something specific, which at the same time excludes every single being in the world. It's not mommy, it's not Spot, and it's not Rexy, and it's not Mitzi, and it's not Horton the elephant, and it's not, it's none of these things. It's just Abba, it's just daddy, that's it. Which means it excludes infinite possibilities, and just by putting one possibility in front of you, it excludes everything else. Obviously, inside the word Abba alone, there's also infinity, like in an ant, there's infinity. But the basic tools with which HaKadosh Baruch Hu has constricted infinity are the letters. So this is all in Sefer Yetzirah. Now comes, Sefer Tzniusa, which means the concealed book. This is the book of secrets of Kabbalah that Yaakov Avinu has written. Yeah, now every single one of the forefathers, Avraham wrote many books, and many Sfarim, and Yitzchak wrote many Sfarim, and Yaakov Avinu wrote many Sfarim, obviously Moshe Rabbeinu wrote many Sfarim, and so forth and so on. They all wrote in a Sfarim with Chidushim. The Chidushim that they wrote were their own attainments, their own asagas, as we will learn a little bit later on. For instance, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai has, he put together Sefer Zohar, but Sefer Zohar was not the Chidushim of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. These are limudim that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai got from his rabbis. He got from Rabbi Akiva, he got from, who got from Rabbi Eliezer ben Orkanos, and they all got from their rabbis, and Rabbi Akiva said, he says, all I was able to learn from my rabbis. He says, I learned a lot from my rabbis, and the only thing I was able to learn is akin to as much as a dog licks from the sea. It means that the knowledge that his Rebbe, Abelez ben Okanos, is akin to the ocean. Now, how much does a dog, dog or, they lick any kind of water, even salt water, then they throw up. But anyhow, but how much does a dog lick from the ocean, comparatively? One of a billion, whatever it is. So he says, I learned a lot from my Rebbe and from Rabbi side, from my Rebbes, and the only thing that I was able to get from the sea of knowledge that they had was akin to how much a dog is able to drink. If he came to drink the ocean, how much of the ocean do you think he would be able to drink? Let's say you went to the Caspian Sea with its sweet water. Forget about the pollution of oil there. But a dog, how much? If a dog went in order to drink the Caspian Sea, it has to be a very big dog and take a long time. Anyhow, the Bekitza, he says, this is what Rabbi Akiva said that he was able to learn from his Rebbe and from ben Hokanos. Eliezer ben Hokanos himself said that he was able to learn a lot from his Rebbes. And he says that all he was able to learn from his Rebbes is as much, compared to what they knew, is as much as you get when you put a quill in the inkwell. Okay, so you dip the quill, and how much do you get? How much can the pen possibly hold? Vis-a-vis, all. So you're saying every generation, they had an immense amount of Torah, and all this was lost. And when we learn the beginning of before Likutey Moharan, this is the place where to learn about this particular inyan, about that which was lost. What Chachamim said, "Asidat Torah shetishtachach b'Yisrael." In the future, the Torah will be forgotten from Israel. Does that mean that we won't know what to do? It doesn't mean that we won't know the halacha. We know what the halacha is. But we don't know the reasons. We don't know the secrets that are behind everything. All that is lost because the Torah Sheba'al Peh was all written orally. It was all learned orally. And all that is lost. And the situation was very, very, was getting worse and worse during the time of the Beis HaMikdash. Things got so bad that people were slaughtering, Talmidei Chachomim, and violence got so bad that Sanhedrin, many years, I don't know, 10, 20, or 40 years or something, actually left Yerushalayim. The Beit HaMikdash was still standing, but it left Yerushalayim and moved to the time of Yavna. It moved to the time of Yavna because during the Sanhedrin of 71 sages was able to sentence murderers to death only when they were sitting in Lishkas Agozis, in the chamber of the Gozis stones in the Beis Hamikdash. Once they moved away, they didn't have the ability to execute murderers anymore. And now, to put a person to death is a very serious matter. And we know that the Sanhedrin that executes people, anybody once in 7 years, is called a lethal Sanhedrin. Once in 70 years. Things got so bad that they got out of Yerushalayim. And the situation kept getting worse and worse, up to the point where Adrian came to. No, Adrian was later. The emperor, I think Aspasianus. He came and besieged. He sieged Jerusalem, and Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai managed to get out, and he told him that he's going to be the king of Rome and the Caesar, and he was notified that he is, and he left the job of destroying Beis Hamikdash to his general, what is Titus, and being that Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai impressed him so much, he asked him what kind of favor did he want. So Rabbi Zakkai told him, spare Yavne and its sages. And with this, he perpetuated the fact, Torah, the Torah will never be forgotten, but immense amount of Torah was forgotten. So we have very, very little that is actually left of those previous generations. And one of the things that we have, an ancient manuscript of Safra Tzniusa that was written by Yaakov Avinu. And this is actually secrets in Kabbalah. These are learnings, these Kabbalah learnings, teachings that Yaakov Avinu has as recorded. So it's saying, so that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, he revealed the Sefer Azar. Sefer Azar was known by the Chachamim before him. I mean, if Rabbi Akiva, who was his Rebbe, just knew, as like a dog looking from the sea, you can imagine where Rabbi Akiva knew. Rabbi Akiva was darshaning every single, needle at the edge of a letter, and so secrets, Rabbi Akiva was well versed in it. But Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was different in the sense that he got the permission to reveal the Sefer Azar. At the same time, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai has actually wrote a Sefer of his own Chidushim that he got, as we will say, B'ezrat Hashem, later on, which is called Tikkun Zohar. Tikkun Zohar is 70 rectifications and Chidushim that have never been heard before, that have, as we said, they have no base on anything that came before them. They are totally new Chidushim. Hashem Bar Yochai has attained them after the 12 years that he was in the cave. And this is Tikkun Zohar. So the Zohar is one thing, Tikkun Zohar is something else entirely. So what we have is, in the Zohar itself, there is in Parshas Truma, we have a portion where we have 5 chapters of Safra Tzniusa, the Sefer of that which is concealed, because before Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, nobody spoke Kabbalah the way Reb Shimon Bar Yochai has revealed. People spoke in parables, in Mishalim, and all kinds of stories, but they did not speak Kabbalah openly. Shimon Bar Yochai got permission to actually discuss it openly. So Sefer Yetzirah, the Sefer Tzniusa starts by saying there are two levels in Olam Atzilus. That's the realm of emanation. That's the highest of the worlds. And the upper half is called Atika Kadisha, the holy ancient or the holy separated, also known as Arich Anpin, which means the great face. And the lower part, which is called Ze'er Anpin, is called the small face. When you say small, that means it is constricted. And in some of this news, in that particular sentence, it says that the Atika Kadisha has one attribute, and Zer Anpin has another attribute. The attribute of Atika Kadisha is that it is totally unfathomable and beyond grasp of human mind. Zer Anpin, which is a lower madrega, a lower level, Safad Sinusa said it is open in the front and sealed in the back. Usually the way that open in the front and sealed from the back, the reason for it is because the kilipot de tum'ah cannot possibly suck sustenance from the face of the Kedusha. The light is too big. The only way the Tum'ah can possibly derive sustenance from the Kedusha is what's called Achoraim, the behind, the back. Because then the light is lowered, and from that they can it's like the face of a person. When you see the face of a person, you can see A, who it is, and B, you can tell a lot about that person. You can tell if he's good looking, he's not good looking. You can say if he looks wise or he looks silly. And sometimes you can see, kindness or cruelty, whatever. The face of a person reveal, it is open. On the other hand, when you look at a person from the back is the back is the back. I mean, what's there to look? It's the back of the head. So maybe there are bumps in the bottom of the skull. The skull is knobby, whatever it is, but you don't know who this person is. So the light is concealed in the back. So for the light, the front of the Kedusha is called panim, is called face, the front. The Kedusha cannot sustain themselves from it. From the back, they can. But this is in general. We are going to learn about back and forth and backwards and forwards. And this is what Rabbeinu said. We said, when you light up the candles, make sure that the flame catches well, the candle before you take your hand away. The reason this is a halacha which is negeh to Neres Shabbos, it's negeh to Neres Chanukah, it is negeh to the Neres in Beis Hamikdash, obviously. The reason for it is, if you just, touch it, and it's just a spark that starts at the wick, and you take your hand back, it is in a certain sense, it's as if the light is lighting itself. The wick is lighting itself. And the mitzvah is for you to light the wick. So you have to hold on until the flame is good and solid. Then it is fully considered as if you have actually lighted the menorah. That is, so we're talking about light here. We're talking about the last day of Hanukkah. We're talking about light. We're talking about lighting candles. It's important that we mention that Rabbeinu HaKodesh is Kuloi Chanukah. We mentioned it last week. Rabbeinu is Chanukah. Lahadli Kner Chanukah is a Shetevos Nachal, is the flowing brook. It's in Rabbeinu, the whole in of Rabbeinu is to bring down the light to a height which is lower than 10 tefachim. We have a rule in Chol Shabbos, 10 tefachim, up to 10 tefachim is called Reshus HaRabim. That's the public domain. 10 tefachim and up, it is called Reshus HaYochid. From 10 tefachim up to the sky is all Reshus HaYochid. And Reshus HaYochid is a euphemism also for the Kedusha. Reshus HaRabim, that's the public domain, that's a euphemism for the Tuma, for the Klipos. So we are told, Me'oilom lo yorda shchina lemata masar tefachim. The Shekhinah has never ever gone down below the level of 10 tefachim, because that level underneath there, that's the realm of the kelipot, of the defilement of the tumah. But the mitzvah of Adlokah Nes Chanukah is dafka to light lower than 10 tefachim. This comes to tell you, to reveal to you that the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the Nes of Chanukah is that the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the light of the Kedusha, of the Shekhinah Kedusha, is going down into the Tumah, to light up Neiros in the place where the Shekhinah has never ever shown before. This is the inyan of the Nachal Neveh Mekor Chochmah Rabbeinu HaKodesh Rabbi Nahum Ben Fegi, is to get down to people like us and that haven't even started, to show us and tell us that which we are grappling with is avodas Hashem. Just like the tzaddikim do whatever they do on their level, we are doing it in our level. Should not make a mistake that I'm not good. Forget about it. I'm not shaykh in all this. It's not shaykh to me. I can't even understand what I'm reading. I can't even. It's not for me. It's like you're talking about geoinim. You're talking about geniuses. You're talking about people who were born holy and everything. They never even looked outside. They don't even know how a coin looks like. You're talking about people like Kedosha Elyon. Oh, you're comparing me to them. Let me just go out, maybe make a living, watch some movies. I don't know, eat a good steak or sufganiya or something. Just leave me alone. Leave me out of this. This is not for me. Let's be realistic. That's usually the language that we use. But they tell us, no, that's not the way it is. And this is what this Torah is about. What this Torah about is that wherever your struggle, your particular struggles are, that is avodas Hashem. It's the same avodas Hashem of all the tzaddikim. And not only this, Rabbeinu says you should know the difficulties that you are experiencing in your madrega. All the tzaddikim, before they got to the immense, amazing madrega, they all went through your level. They all grappled with what you're grappling with. They all fought off whatever it is that you're fighting off. The reason why they're so holy and so high is because they haven't given up. And probably the less said, the better, and so forth and so on. So Rabbeinu teaches us two specific things. And this is what we learned last week, and we just make a chazar here because we failed to get, the full audience that we usually have. So it's a good opportunity to sort of like sink in what Rabbeinu is talking about. The first thing is Rabbeinu says that there are two modes of human intellect. One is the one that we're all familiar with. It is based on basic knowledges, step by step. And whatever it is that you go forward, whatever is always based on something that you have experienced. Either you saw it, or you tasted it, or you smelled it, or you said it, or you heard it, or you touched it. And then you built upon that. So every single thing that you know now is based on something that you experienced in the past. That means that whatever it is that you know now is based on backwards, on that which is behind. It says there's a pasuk, Achov akezem tzatzani. You have created me back and forward, backwards and forwards. Al Pipshat, we're talking about Adam Rishon, that before being surgically repaired, male and female were one being. The one facing back was the female, the one facing front was the male, and I wonder whether the female was arguing who was actually going forward, who was going backwards. But anyhow, so Baruch Hu split them, and then they turned face to face. But be it as it may, here we're talking about when it comes to the human intellect, the seichel, the prevailing seichel, the natural seichel, is the one which is called achar. It's called backwards, because whatever it is that you do is built on accumulated experience. Things that you already did, you already heard, you saw, you tested, whatever it is. And Rabbeinu says that there is another mode of intelligence, which is practically totally unknown by humanity. And that is called panim, face, forward. This intelligence is where you acquire knowledge and understanding as a complete package that has nothing to do with anything that came before it. Moshe Rabbeinu brought down Torah Sinai. It was not based on anything that was learned before. The only thing is that we have the mitzvah of bris milah, we have Indian of not eating chometz on Pesach, and we have Rosh Chodesh, and we have the Shabbos that they were commanded around the bitter lake of Mara. That's it. That's the only thing that we got. Moshe Rabbeinu broke down 613 mitzvot, and their, plus 13 codes of how to derive the particular halachot from the psukim of the Torah. This is a totally brand new knowledge that came to Moshe Rabbeinu b'shefa Eloki, with a divine shefa, divine flow. As we say every Shabbos, we say Yismach Moshe b'masnas chelkon. Moshe will rejoice with the gift of his part, with the presence of his part, the gift of his part. Eved ne'eman karatalo, you have called him a faithful slave, a faithful servant. Klil tiferes b'rosh natatalo, a complete, total tiferes, which is glory, which is the Torah, you have given him into his head. Moshe Rabbeinu represents the ultimate limud b'chinas panim. So Kadosh Baruch Hu says, panim b'fanim, pe el pe adaber ito. He's he learns from Kadosh Baruch Hu face to face. He's facing the face. He's facing the kedem. He's facing the forward. And you got the whole Torah down. There's no past experience. It's not based on anything that came before. It's totally brand new. That's the first Hakdama. The second Hakdama, Rabbeinu says that when your mind is moving fast, it breeds heat. He says anything that moves fast breeds heat, begets heat. Physically, something moves through the air, the drag, missiles that fly very, very fast actually expand and become longer because of the heat of the friction and so on and so on. But the same thing is also true, when the mind understands things very, very quickly. When you are able to understand things in one fell swoop, that ignites a great excitement in the heart. You can see tzaddikim that are old people that can hardly move, and they get an immense hasaga. They are so fired up that they are jumping around like young people. And we gave an example. We give an example that you can see that when you tell a joke, because when you tell a joke, you're basically, you're making. You take a situation, and it's a state of what you call a suspension of disbelief. You take away the idea of there's reality, could be, couldn't be, whatever it is. You can't tell a joke. He says, listen, once people were in a train and it got into a tunnel, and the ones listening says, just a second, which tunnel was that? Okay, that's it. Forget about it. I'm not telling you any jokes. In the joke, whatever. When you realize I'm telling you a joke, you suspend anything and everything, all right? So you go ahead and you say, listen, once the lion got married, all right? He made a chasana. So when he made a chasana, obviously all the animals came, like he's the king of animals. So all the animals came. So here comes the mouse. The mouse comes, and he comes to the lion. He writes out a check and gives it to the lion, and he says, "Mazel tov, my brother. Here you go." So the lion gets all upset, and he says to the mouse, "Since when am I your brother?" So the mouse tells him, "Me, before I got married, I was also a lion." Okay, so you laugh. Why do you laugh? So imagine somebody didn't get the joke. All right. So you have to start explaining the joke. He says, just a second. He says, okay, first of all, the lions, but lions don't get married. Well, imagine they do, okay? In this particular story, they do. Okay, fine. Now the mouse a mouse will come to the wedding of the lions. I'll eat them up. In this particular story, it's okay. All the animals get along. They're sitting, they're, drinking cocktails. It's okay. Just for the story. Just forget about, it's not a real story. It's just, okay. And then you keep on going. And as you go, by the time that you reach the punchline, the person asks, okay, I got everything. Now, at which part do you laugh? Because in jokes, when you explain jokes, you know more, but you get less. Right? Because what you don't get the whole dichotomy of the two opposites of the mouse and the lion. And the mouse says, I used to be a lion before I got married also. You don't get the whole thing in one fell swoop. So it's not funny. is when you get the whole thing in one shot, because when you hear the punchline, you get the whole thing in one shot. That excites the heart. So if it's a joke, you laugh. If it's a drama, you cry. But if it's dober chochma, and you get it b'shefa eloki, that awakens your heart and it burns in avodas Hashem, so that way you don't have to work hard at it. You don't have to like, oh man, I can't get myself to move. That's because the mind doesn't move. So, B'ezrat Hashem, with the schus of this Heilige Chanukah, today is the light, the eighth light of Chanukah. We just started the Torah, which is, all the Torahs are extremely profound. This Torah is also not simple. It includes a lot of different moving parts. And we will move slowly, one step at a time. And like Lego, like baby Lego, the pieces are big, so the baby doesn't swallow it, whatever it is. So we're going to put one piece at a time, B'ezrat Hashem, and hopefully when we are done, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll finish the Torah, we will be infinitely richer. We are already infinitely richer just by learning whatever it is we did now. So I want to wish you all a good Shabbos. And B'ezrat Hashem, B'li Neder, Motzei Shabbos, I'll see you all at 9 o'clock in a shir of Sichos Haran. And thank you very much for coming and, being patient with me. Atzlacha b'chol ha'inyonim.